Good evening, everyone. My name is Abhishek Jain, and I'm pleased to invite you all to the Know Your Exam series by Planty. In this session, we will be focusing on cracking the ISI admission test for the M.Math degree at the Indian Statistical Institute. Today, we are very fortunate to have with us Sayatan Santra, who has completed his BSc in Mathematics from Ramakrishna Mission Residential College in 2019. He then went on to pursue his M.Math from the Indian Statistical Institute from 2019 to 2021 and is currently an incoming PhD student in mathematics from the University of Oklahoma. In this session, we will be speaking in detail on the ISI admission test for M.Math, how to prepare for it, and how to score well in the same. I would now like to hand it over to Sayatan to begin this session.
Okay, so I'll start. My session will be mostly divided in some parts, given mostly as some trying to answer some common questions related to the exam. So to start with, who should appear for the ISI admission test, right? The M.Math test. I'd say that people who are truly interested in mathematics should only pursue this, because people who are just trying to get a job or trying to get a degree from ISI should not be really trying to take this exam, because they won't really benefit from it other than maybe the brand name of ISI. Yeah, they will get probably get very good jobs, but it won't be worth the effort. From people from various backgrounds can apply. I have friends from BTech backgrounds, BSc backgrounds, and STAT backgrounds, and test is only for the M.Math entrance. There are separate tests for the MStat, BStat, and B.Math exam. So this is only for the M.Math exam, M.Math course, right? And you have to apply for it in your, ideally in your third year of your BSc or fourth year of BTech or whatever, your final year or whatever you're doing, and hopefully you'll get it. Many people try 2-3 times and they still get it, so don't be discouraged if you don't. To prepare for the exam, you should have a bachelor's degree with math as your major, or BE or BTech degree with math as a subject, or a BStat degree from ISI. People who have B.Math from ISI get automatically enrolled, so this is not for them. So about the exam, there's usually a written and an interview session, but last year the interview session didn't happen, it was cancelled due to the pandemic. So everyone was selected directly from the written test. I don't know what will happen this year. I think it has already happened a few days ago anyway. So yeah, usually it is a written exam and an interview, and both of these are considered equally or almost equally when selecting the student finally. In the written exam, it mostly consists of 2 types of mathematics. First of all, you should obviously be well versed with whatever you learned during your bachelor's degree, especially algebra and analysis, because they focus on these 2. And also there are some what we call recreational mathematical problems, which don't really come from any syllabus or anything, or they don't require any syllabus or anything to read per se, like some simple geometric problems or combinatorial problems and stuff like that. They're like Olympiad-esque in nature. To prepare for them, I think first of all you should focus on your bachelor syllabus. That's what I did, because majority of the questions come from the bachelor syllabus that's covered in most of the pages, like algebra, like group theory, ring theory, stuff like that, simple real analysis. The exam doesn't really try to test that how much you know, right? It try to gauge like how well you understand whatever you know. So don't worry if you think that your college doesn't cover too much syllabus. It doesn't really matter in most cases. solve problems, right? Solve as much problems as you can. You can solve the ISI past M.Math papers, other entrance papers like JAM, TIFR, CMI, NBH, whatever, Olympiad problems, Putnam problems, problems from other books like whatever your bachelor's degree book is, analysis books, algebra books, geometry books. And there is a wonderful book called The Problem Solving Strategies by Arthur Engel. You can try solving problems from that as well. The what I just called as Olympiad as recreational problems. Those that book contains many of those. You can start with that book, then go to like some IMO problems or Putnam problems. Yeah, so solve problems that can't be stressed enough. It's probably the most important skill you probably to succeed hopefully as a future mathematician, I think. Now, when solving problems, I think the most important aspect is to learn how to approach a problem from different perspectives, right? Like there are many problems which might, for example, which might seem geometrical in nature, but if you look at it from an algebraic point of view, maybe it becomes obvious. Yeah, and it can happen the other way as well in different ways. Whenever you see a problem, try to imagine how you can tweak it to make new problems that might be more interesting or more elemental in nature. And there's no such thing as having solved enough problems. Don't think that you have solved enough problems. Just keep solving more and more. Right? Now, in the selection process, first of all, obviously the written test is important. Try to do your best in the written test and don't panic. Right, that's the mistake everyone makes. That's the mistake that I have made in my life many times. Don't panic. Even if you think you're not prepared, panicking will only make it worse. Don't panic, so that you can give your best with whatever you know, whatever you have prepared, however you have prepared. So yeah, try to do written test. That's obviously that's not even a tip. That's what you have to do, right? To the interview. For the interview, I can't really say for sure what they want because I've only experienced it from the POV of an interviewee. But what I have realized after giving interviews at most of the top institutions in India that they look for the ability. Right. It has happened many times in many interviews, like in IICT, and many other places, that I haven't been able to solve a problem on my own in that interview. But you have to tell them what you're thinking. You have to tell them your thought process, and they will guide you to a solution. Even if you can't solve it in the end, they will judge you from how you're able to use the hints on the spot. Right. Higher level mathematics, whatever is done at the master's or higher level, is all about being able to work with whatever you have at your disposal. You won't ever know all the things you need to know because there's a vast universe of stuff. We can't really remember everything all of the time, but you'll often meet problems that you have no idea about. So it's important how to approach them without some guidance. I think they try to judge that. They try to see how you can do, how well you can do with newfound information, right? How fast you can process new information. Um, okay, so yeah, that was about the interview process mostly. I will hopefully expect some questions about that. And after that, I think what many think that I've come to know from my other classmates, and I have thought about it before as well, that maybe the elite institutes don't take students from low backgrounds, right? I have seen many of my friends not even try to crack the SI or TI for entrances because they think that that obviously ISI doesn't take students from a state college, right? But that's not correct. I have classmates from every kind of institutes, from elite institutes like ISI, ISR, and also people from state colleges. You just have to like math, I guess. I don't know what other thing you have to have, right? So don't let your background discourage you. Everyone can crack these tests, and just try to give it your best. Knowing more math is not as important as properly understanding it. Make sure that whatever you know clearly, right? Try to teach it to someone else. I think it's a good way to material, but only at the surface level. So try to understand whatever you know to the greatest of detail that is possible. And of course, keep in mind that the entrance is probably the easiest step in successfully completing M.Math. You will face many challenges in the following 2 years. The pressure might seem unsurmountable, but your bachelor's will look like a walk in the park. But don't lose hope, right? That's the key. At times it might seem like too much, but you have to hold it together. Just try to remember that many have been through the same situations as you, and most of them have successfully come out of it and tried. And yeah, so try to be confident, and try to get good sleep the night before. Them, I would say that you should start preparing like if you, at least like a month from the exam. Obviously, you should keep always study for all the 3 years of your BSc, but specifically for these exams, you should at least start preparing for it like at least like 2 weeks or 1 month before the exam. I would say 1 month is a bit healthy rather than 2 weeks and trying to mark everything up. And yeah, so try to when the exam comes, and don't keep anything to be marked up just the day before the exam. It doesn't work like that. You have to understand anything you know. You have to understand it well. So don't try to do too much studying on the day before exam like most of you do in the semesters. I have done it in the semester. It doesn't work with entrances and competitive exams. And while answering, try to think well. Okay, because many of the questions are deceptive in nature. There are MCQs which might seem like obvious but are clearly not. The options will confuse you often, so always make sure that you consider all of the possibilities before answering. In the ISI entrance, at least, time should not be an issue. It was never an issue for me. There are very few questions with respect to the time, at least if you compare it to exams like JAM or NET. Time is not really an issue in the ISI entrance test. So think well before answering anything. Um, and in the written part of the written test, I mean the long answer type part where you actually have to write your answer in words, try to be as explanative as possible. Right? Don't think that the professor might know this, so I will skip it. That's not how they like it. They just try to be as detailed as possible. Write everything. Let me silent my phone. Yeah. So yeah, so try to be as detailed as possible. I know people who have probably written proper answers, but they skipped so much part that they like had very low numbers, and so weren't selected. Yeah, so there are like 30 or so. Yeah, there are 30 MCQs and varying number of written broad type questions. I think in my year there were 10 questions. Uh, I think you will be safe if you can correctly answer 20 or 22 of 30 questions. I probably answer like 24, 5 of them correctly. And in the broad answer type questions, at least try to answer like 70% of the questions. At least try to attempt 75% of the questions. I think I wrote all of them, but I don't know. I'm not sure if all of them were correct. At least I got a good marks. But try to get at least like 7 out of them correct. So then you will have almost a sure chance of getting selected for the interview. And make sure that you do well in the MCQ section as well, because they won't even check your answers for the broad answer type questions if you don't do well in the MCQ. There is a cutoff, right? So in both of the sections to get selected for the interviews. And during the interviews, I just talked about it a bit before, what happens and how to prepare. Okay, so that's all I had to say in the session. Now, if anyone has any questions.
Q&A session, I think the first question that I would want to ask you with respect to this exam is that so a lot of people have this thing that that they would want to, let's say, take a drop year for preparing for exams, or just trying to attend some kind of coaching full time to actually just prepare for the exam. So do you think that that's something which is a necessary for this exam? And also, secondly, do you think that that is something which is advisable for taking this particular exam?
For the coaching part, I don't really know any single person who has cracked the exam after and who dedicates it to any coaching institutes. Yeah, some of us go to people but some personal training, but don't go to any coaching institutes, right? Like websites and stuff. You can give exams, mock exams. That's okay. But yeah, if you talk with some professor or some teacher on a regular basis, they can help you. But don't try to go to coaching institute; they don't really help. And about the other question, yeah, some people actually actually drop out. Actually take a year drop, and some of them are successful in that. But I don't personally like that. Yeah, but your views might differ. I don't think there's an objective answer in that. Realize that if you take a year drop, you are taking a huge gamble, right? You are delaying everything on your life by 1 year. Hopefully, you will succeed, but just try to keep a backup plan if you don't.
For sure, for sure. Thanks a lot for that. And I think my next question is more with respect to the structure and pattern of the exam itself. So, with your experience, do you think you would want to elaborate a little bit about the different sections in the exam, and also if there is any mindset that a student should have when they're approaching these different sections?
Uh, Not really different sections, but as I said during my session a few minutes ago, there are some of which come from like whatever we get to learn in bachelor's degree, and some are what we call like recreational problems from like Olympiadesque problems, and these two types of questions require a different type of approach, because the questions from syllabus you have to prepare from your syllabus study books, right? You have to read whatever you learned in your syllabus. You have to revise all of those and stuff like that. And for the recreational problems, there are books like the problem solving strategies that I said about, and even the tomato book helps in some cases. But yeah, try to talk to people, try to talk with your classmates. I think discussing problems helps, right? It's better than solving most books. Yeah, and if you solve like papers and books, try to do it together, because mathematics is mostly a collaborative subject, because you have to talk to each other to like crack like take a bite on a problem. So yeah, try to talk to people, try to talk to professors and friends. Yeah, I think that's what you should do.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Sayatan. I think with that, I come to the end of both the Q&A session and the session itself. So I would just like to take this opportunity on behalf of Team Plant to thank you for taking the time out to preparing for this session and also for taking the time out to join this session. Thanks a lot, Sayanta. I'm sure this is going to be very, very useful for future students who are going to be taking this exam.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye.